Yo,
Welcome back, y'all.
back again.
Welcome back.
Uh,
Peace and love, reflection.
Peace and love.
we're gonna start today. It's gonna be a little quick video. We just want to break down who are they and what is you and them. And break down the spell of these words, because words are spells that we use unconsciously, and we don't really understand the spells that we're putting on ourselves. And the words that we use actually disconnect us from all that is.
Truth.
Yep.
Truth. We're coming into an age now where words coming to consciousness, words are being broken down, spells are being broken, reality is being broken down, truth is coming out. So one is analyzing and coming to consciousness of words of separation and understanding that one is everything and everything is one. So when I use words of hate, discontent, and aggression out of anger or a derivative of fear, one realizes that one can't use these words and articulate them because one is casting spells upon self, realizing that one is a reflection of self in many manifestations of energy forms. So one has to be mindful of the words that is being used, because one is sending signals out that get reflected back. So we are all beams of light. So one will reflect this light back, and then it will manifest in one's reality.
Yeah, and one must catch oneself by saying the words you, they, or like he said, like one said, like the words that separates you, not the you. You see, when you catch yourself, like I just say you. One must catch themselves saying this, and then this is when one will start to, like automatically become enlightened and get in tune.
Right.
And we are now coming into the age of the nothing. The nothing is everything. And when one is saying the words like you or they, and they, one catches themselves saying it, this is, better, because now one can start thinking. One is thinking now. One's thinking sharp, on point every time. So when and by accident, even by accident, one might intercept one of the reflections thoughts by accident. So that's telepathy. We're coming into that. So when one is, one might stop talking for a while. One might start being quiet and start observing, and then listening, and one knows listening, and one might wake up instantly. And when one is focused, this is when one can thrive, and one will be one.
It's true.
It goes into we are one being that share one consciousness. We are just different expressions of that one being on different levels of thought frequency. But how the universe works is it expands from the source and it contracts back to the source. So the universe, it works in a sense of consciousness, unconsciousness, expansion, contraction. So it's always going away from the source and coming back to the source. We in the time right now where it's coming back to the archetype. It's just we all are archetype. We archetype, just different expressions, because
archetype
because we are the derivatives of archetype, making us truly the archetype. Like all that exists is the archetype, because all came from the archetype. The Y type is just a mutation of the archetype.
Derivative of that.
Right, we are derivative of that archetype from that source. So we truly are it, but just on a different expression level.
And this taps into some beings I know have gone and are conscious of the theory, which is no longer theory now. It's proof of the earth breathing, and this is the same concept to use the blueprint to understand in a different conscious level, because the earth is breathing in a sense, but it's conscious and unconscious, as Reflection Omak has said. And we are coming into the age of now of nonverbal communication. When one comes into nonverbal communication, less is more, meaning more feeling, more feeling of what vibration and how one feels, thought, it becomes more telepathy, where one is focusing more on actions, and actions speak louder than words, as one has said, in Babylon. So we're coming into the age of non-verbal communication, and all is going to be revealed, and all is going to be exposed for the truth, the Christ conscious. So one thing I wanted to say too is the Christ conscious. One broke down a little bit of this in the video, and just to touch up on what Christ conscious is when Indigo Warriors broke down a while ago in our videos about how the sun is a converter of dark matter and in the ether, and when it converts that dark matter and ether, it fragments it into colors and then frequencies of the light electromagnetic spectrum. This is the same concept blueprint that's used for the Christ consciousness, and how the Christ conscious is part of a whole and is fragmented from a lower to higher frequencies based off someone's level of consciousness, and is fragmented. And this is because God, archetype, whatever the source, whatever one wants to name it, is wanting to experience self. And the only way for one to experience self is to become conscious and unconscious. We are coming into the time now where we are becoming conscious of self, but not so conscious that one remembers everything, because when one gets to that consciousness, when one does get to that consciousness, it will be wiped back down to where unconscious again. That's the only way for one to experience self and be able to
one only collects what one needs. One only connects what they need, and in certain lifetimes you have situations that happens to one that might help get one to where they are now. Like, for example, like just everything happening for a reason. Basically everything happening for a reason, getting one to where they need to be, where one needs to be. Is and if one knew better, then one would do better. And if one knew what was trying to separate, what it's like a whole bunch of shit that's separating one from one. One is one.
All right.
One. And then when you have a whole bunch of distractions and stuff thrown in there that can separate the one from being one. Like the word you, them, they, like even one must be cautious of what one is saying, because one can say I, the word I, and when one says the word I, it becomes the other, not even the other, but it becomes one's thoughts. Now, I love myself. Now, not you, but one watching the video, one next to me making the video is now saying I love myself. So one must be cautious of what one is saying.
Simultaneously, it is being said in one's mind. When one says this is how sound works. When one says I love myself, it is casting spells upon the observer. So the observer that's hearing through the five senses, or however it's being subjected to one's being, is simultaneously getting that and casting a spell upon self. So it is a positive affirmation, a positive signal that's being sent out, because one is the only one in existence. So everything is a reflection of self. So when one casts negative spells upon self, one will have negative signals being sent back, because it's like a mirror being refracted. When one says something and one projects something through the mirror, it comes back to self. So really, when one sees all these beings that are out there slaying and harming and killing animals, one doesn't realize that it is a reflection of self. And one is going to have to experience what one has,
most definitely,
what the things that one has done, in this lifetime. So one's creating worlds for what one's actions have taken place in this realm, in this time, in existence and cycle.
It would be wise for one to realize that one is only dealing with oneself on a daily basis. So saying I and oneself, it would be hard to put negative spells out and cast negative spells, because you know that you're dealing, that one knows that is dealing with itself. So it would be hard for one to say I hate you. What you does, it creates a disconnect from you and that other being.
Who is
you doesn't really exist.
You don't exist.
all that exists is oneself.
Oneself, right?
Truth.
That goes to the teaching of the holographic universe, because all that you see is only a perception of what the electrical signals that you receiving from from the light bouncing off the objects, the photons in your eyes and sending through one's eyes.
And one must also
right. Back to the visual cortex, where the brain breaks down the electrical signal that's being received
in the back of the brain.
Right.
Exactly.
One must also correct oneself all the time, even if it's oneself in another form. Like like for example, like me and Omek just now, he said the word your.
Yeah.
So me correcting him saying your, that is correcting myself.
Right.
And that's better, because if one knew better, one would do better. So that's like, that's even, more motivation for one, so when and like he said, like one said, when one is casting negative spells, they can only now cast them negative spells unto self.
On the self.
And when that's like saying fuck you, and then that fuck you. But if you was to have to eliminate the word you, if one was to have to eliminate the word you, then it would be like fuck. You can't say fuck me.
Right.
Fuck me. One wouldn't want to be like fuck me. What? No,
Right.
that will make one not even want to say that, because it's negative. So when one is now conscious of what one is saying, one can now articulate themselves better, oneself better.
Truth.
Right. And realize that all that exists
one is dealing with self.
Is oneself. Just reflections of oneself on different frequencies of thought.
I like saying it too. I like correcting oneself, correcting myself.
It's a game too. Like when one comes to this consciousness, it's a pure enlightenment. When one can realize and come to the consciousness of that everything is itself in existence, and this is part of changing one's mind and changing the reality from perception. And this is a key, a tip that one can use and apply the blueprints to one's life in order to be able to construct and reshape one's thought form, because one thought form will manifest through perception into reality, and one needs to be able to articulate and break down these spells. Spells are very, very important. This is what we are here to give you. This knowledge is very divine.
So to give oneself.
Yeah, able to give oneself. See, this is what one needs to come to the consciousness. We correct each other every day. So it's a task, but we are, within 30 days we will have this.
Yeah, one will reprogram. When one reprograms the what you call of Babylon, the spells that Babylon, because coming into this so-called reality, it's like one was going through hell. One going through hell, that's an obstacle. This Babylon is an obstacle that one must overcome. But all of that put onto oneself was meant for one to get out of that way of thinking. And when one starts to realize, oh, that's not that, this is everything is self. So then one will be on point, and one will express oneself even better. Like one knows one, like, see, it's happening right now in front of one's eyes. Like one is correcting oneself over and over until one can finally just not even have to correct oneself, because it's going to be innate for the one to know that what is you, what is them, what is they, what is all of that shit. You know what I mean? It's just that's all.
It's just programming that you just gotta break.
Right.
When one came into this realm, one was pure, and growing up in Babylon, what they call it, what they do is program you. As soon as you come into this reality, you just come, and then one instantly begins to just respond to what's around them, and one's environment. One ultimately becomes one with its environment.
Truth. And to go back on what Zu was saying is one has to when one breaks these spells, one realizes that this realm, this reality is just in the now. Everything is in the now. We're coming into the nothingness. And the nothingness is everything. When one empties cup and allows room for growth, one can receive everything, but one has to position self in order to receive gifts and blessings. And one has to go through hell in order to make it to heaven.
Right.
This is something that one has to go. So obstacles, Babylon is training grounds for one to be able to manipulate energy and go through that hell. So when one gets to consciousness, one can look back, reflect, and see how one manipulated energy and how one manipulates energy. Because in Babylon, beings do this unconsciously, and when one becomes conscious and on the consciousness of it, one can look through the obstacles that one has overcome and appreciate steps, and then break down the reality that one has already come through from that
Right.
hell path. You know?
How else will one become one? How else will one become God without detaching from what no longer serves oneself?
True.
How will one start to understand that, you know, one is everything without, you know, separating what doesn't, you know, conform to one, I guess. You know, what doesn't, you know, serve one. And if one really, you know, strives to be one, then one will become one.
Exactly.
If one strives to be one, one will become one.
Yeah, this is the frequency of consciousness. When one gets to this consciousness, one can't have hate, harbor any emotion. One gets to the pureness of a child, which a child, when a child feels, they feel in the moment and they live in the now. And this is what one has to come to: is living in the now, in the moment, and expressing energy, but not holding on to any attachment, emotional attachments, because one is only one in existence, and one can be conscious of this, and be as like a child. This is the Christ. This is when one comes to the purity and the high vibrational state of being conscious that one is only one in existence, but also being like a child. Because when one is like a child, they are not conscious of themselves as being in existence and having the consciousness.
It's just
what
responding to what, you know, it's like, hey, I'm out here, you know, and then one is, you know, one is one. Shit. Like when one comes out of that sort of womb, when one comes out of that, one is still, you know, one just came through the ether. Now one is, you know, being one. But, you know, what what one was taught, one is now, you know, casting spells unto one. Now one is stop. Don't run around butt naked. Don't have all your hair out like have all one's hair out like one's hair is supposed to be. Don't connect back to nature. That's basically what one is you know, doing. When one is in Babylon, one is disconnecting one from oneself. So when one gets out of Babylon, one can now reconnect and reprogram. And when one reprograms, this is when one will become one. And, you know, the best thing is that one can now, like, you know, when one becomes nothing, one can become everything. And one can now, you know, through thought, one knows through thought that one can now speak telepathically or like visualize and see things for what they really are.
And yes, and one wanted to talk about when one speaks of telepathy, one has to realize that this realm is more condensed. So what one is capable, and these things that one hears about with the supernatural abilities and such.
This is practice grounds.
This grounds are training grounds for us to learn how to manipulate energy. So a form of telepathy in this realm will not be the exact same as one sees as what the lower self tries to envision and project in the movies and such, which there are realms that one will be able to on a later basis in another video. Indigo Warriors will touch on subjects on that, but one needs to realize that this realm is more condensed. So what, you know, abilities and things that one sees in movies won't be in this reality, in this realm. We are constructing that reality via one's abilities to maneuver and manipulate energies and understanding a self, reflection of self, and consciousness, and one's expression through their astral consciousness.
Right.
One needs to also obey the 42 laws of Maya, and also 10 commandments. These, when one is conscious of what they are, can be used and effectively for one to be able to maneuver energy well and express energy well in this realm on a positive conscious level, sending out good signals.
One must
learn how to utilize oneself. One is a specific astrological energy with strengths in a specific amount of elements.
One just did it. One just telepathically did it. One was just about to speak about on astrological energy.
Right.
Then one said it. This is because we telepathically
in tune
with
with
each other. Just put you in tune. I was just about to say that. Then he said it. That's great. Go ahead.
One is only dealing with oneself in this reality. So whatever one needs to learn is going to come through another being, which is a reflection of oneself.
Right. True.
You may one may be strong in earth element, and in this natal birth chart, study your astrological energy. This being may be practical, real logical, and he can analyze. The being can analyze real good, but if you can do all of that and you don't have the willpower, which is fire, to back up that practicality and the business mindset, you'll never end up doing anything. One would never end up doing anything but conceptualizing what needs to be done.
Needs to be
one balances another. We balance each other. Like one would learn whatever it needs to learn, or pick up whatever it needs to pick up from another being, which is a reflection of oneself.
Right. And what one does in Babylon, one in the movies and all of that, like Om was saying, in the movies they put all the supernatural stuff and all the stuff that we can do in other realms, but they don't know that that's what's disconnecting oneself when one needs to focus on the natural first, the natural first, and how to manipulate their astrological energy first. When one knows how to manipulate their natural energy, then one can start to manipulate their supernatural energy. And that's
one must master the natural ability in order to be able to exceed and go on to the supernatural. Because how can one be supernatural if one's not in tune and tapped into nature? Because one has to go through the steps. One must appreciate the steps. If one skips steps, one will be in a realm of reality.
Purgatory.
For real. One loss.
And the nature's elements are fire, earth, air, and water. Fire represents passion, willpower, drive, and just fire are the doers. They do things. They just do things. But one lacks the ability to think things, and so they just find themselves just doing. Spontaneous. Then you have Earth, which is the practical thinker, the logical analyzer.
Break things down, rationalize. That's the Earth.
These are the beings that ground you.
Keep the practicality.
Then you have the water beings.
Memory,
intuition.
Intuitive beings, the more emotional, they tap into their emotion. One is tapped to the emotional body. Sensitivity, intuition, creativity. Then you have the air beings. Creative thoughts,
intellect,
imagination. These are the beings that think and overthink. But if one lacks fire or earth to ground that air, the being could just live up in his mind, up in one's mind, and not really be able to follow through with the thoughts that one would have.
And it's important that one knows and studies their debilitation, because when one has a debilitation or something that holds it back, it can be one's strength. So one knows if one lacks a certain element in learning how to manipulate and use energy, like say if one has some practicality and air, but one does not have fire, one can tap into a being, if one studies astrology, knowing that one being has fire, and then one can fuel and light the fire up under one's ass, and they're able to ignite the flame for one to get the thought that they want to manifest into reality, one's thought into reality, So
also one could connect to nature. Nature contains all the 4 elements.
Mm-hmm.
Once you ground bare feet, you absorb the earth's telluric energy. You become one with all the elements. This is it's impossible for one to be angry and standing on the earth barefoot at the same time. It's impossible. You would what the energy does, it makes you neutral. It levels you out. It grounds you. It makes you
out.
right. You just be like, okay, cool. I can think about this. You're more clear-minded. One is more clear-minded.
Right.
One becomes Neo Morpheus in the Matrix.
One can process one's thoughts instead of, being all over the place. One can now
Clairvoyance.
and when one is, when one says you, one can take the you out as one. And when one, starts to catch oneself, one will, like earlier in the video, one will get in tune. Right. One will get in tune automatically if one just stops saying you, them, they, and anything else that separates one from oneself.
And what Babylon is it's your lower self. It's you on the lower thought frequency, and
one
on one's lower thought frequency. Their whole one's whole environment is designed to keep one away from nature and connecting back and receiving the natural elements. So they make one makes a whole environment and reality out of a simulated version of nature. The whole reality environment is alchemized from nature. All that you see in Babylon.
And one feels as though, one feels as though on a level that when one sometimes slips up on the words they, you, and all of that, when one slips up on that word, I guess it's like, something that one isn't supposed to be saying. When one starts saying that, it's like coming out of oneself, stopping oneself from saying what one is about to say.
Yeah, one will cut out useless conversation in Babylon and in the society that one has been born into. Everything is one can overconsume anything, and over consuming doesn't just have to be with one's food or with one water or whatever. One can over consume words. Like one has a lot of overindulging in useless sentences and useless words and useless conversation. When one cuts out yous and all this stuff, one will have no need for certain expressions that we try to vocalize that can be expressed, that one can express in body language or in other means. One will be able to articulate this in other means. When one looks into nature, one does not see very much, a lot of noise. And if there is noise, it's the most divine, and it's very urgent. It's noise that needs to be, and it's very important. But we in this system, in the society that one is trapped in, use a lot of useless nonsense. And the words, English language is a horrible construction for one to try to articulate any divine message. But one is over here, being able to do this, and now one's coming to the conscious level where we're coming into the nothing.
And one must also, even when one is texting or on the phone, one must still use this same way of thinking, practice. And when one is writing, then even when writing, one will now, start to pick up on what one is really supposed to be saying, and what one is, how one will articulate oneself through their writing, through one's writing, through one's speaking vocally, and through one's thinking. Like one will be able to connect. One will be able to be one.
A good breakdown.
One.
A good breakdown is the glass. The glass down low.
Right.
You have one has itself, the glass, a sheet of glass. One breaks it. And the glass breaks into many different shapes and pieces, forms and pieces.
Right.
And while it's insane for one to praise the glass, because it truly is the glass, you have some that thinks they are just
separated.
One thinks that they are just the shape of the glass, and they worship the glass. So
all one can be is glass.
All one can be is the glass.
Right.
All one can be is the glass.
Right. And when one is, say a lot of in Babylon or whatever, like one is like you said, like one said, worshiping the glass. When one is now, it doesn't. One can't really see. One is blind now. One can't see that one is the glass. So one is worshiping the glass. One is praying to the glass, like glass, help me, glass, help oneself, glass. When one is that, very glass that one is praying to.
Right.
And I am the glass. We are the glass here to tell oneself that they are the glass. That one is the glass. That one is the glass.
So don't cast negative spells on oneself.
Truth.
One is only dealing with itself on a day-to-day basis.
Truth.
There is no day.
Right.
There is only I.
Who is they?
There is only I.
Yeah.
Who is you?
One is the only one in existence. I am the only one in existence.
You. How the sound of that you, they, the sounds of these words is just
they just create a disconnect. You just
they,
like, all right,
separation
you.
Yourself.
You're like, who am I talking about when you say they?
Them,
Truth.
them.
Like,
why
say
is
they? Like,
why is oneself programmed to say such a thing?
Create an illusion of something that's there when it's only you. It's only oneself.
Truth. Truth. Look in the mirror and see oneself. Reflection. Reflection is a great word to use that
to reprogram subconscious.
Truth. Truth.
So until next time, man.
Yeah.
So next time,
Peace, reflections. Peace, peace.
Peace oneself.